Aloha and good afternoon. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from Livestream.travel and Itobu News in Honolulu. And right next to me is Dr. Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. The weather now in Honolulu, we had horrible weather here. Actually, still have a state of emergency with flooding. Luckily, where I'm at, yes, there has been a lot of rain, but it's dry now. Actually, I see the sun coming out, and it looks like things are looking a little bit brighter in Hawaii. How are things in Texas today?
Things were really beautiful in Texas. So if you say aloha from Hawaii, I'll say howdy from Texas. And today was just a beautiful day. We had a low in the 60s and a high around 75. We had a perfect Hawaii day, but it was in Texas. Low humidity, blue skies, and really nice sun. So we were very, very lucky. But I understand on the East Coast of the United States, they're expecting some cold, very cold weather and possible snow. So I guess I'm very thankful to be in warm Texas, and I'm glad the sun is coming back to Hawaii. I bet you have a beautiful rainbow, and that'll start the back to paradise plans of the people of Hawaii, because you normally have beautiful weather in Hawaii.
No, we have nice rainbows, and I'm sure we're going to see one or two because we're like in between now. I heard we're going to have a little bit of weather still in the next 2-3 days, but the sun is coming out where I'm at. And on Oahu, on the island where I'm at, it's quite different. You can have a completely different weather pattern on the other side of the island, on the windward side, than here. So here it's always, even when it's bad, it's not as bad as the other side. But I understand Haleiwa, the North Shore, Kailua has been really soaked, and they have people in shelters, and they're now, I guess, going back home. And so I haven't been on the other side yet, but I hear it has been quite bad. And Oahu was actually the most affected island. And here, surprisingly, blue sky I see it over the ocean, so that's good. But
well, let's hope that the weather clears and that there are no deaths and not too much physical damage, because I know that's always a terrible thing. And there are lots of poor people in Hawaii, and when the weather is really bad, I don't know, if it doesn't impact their housing and their homes. So let's pray that no one got hurt.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about rebuilding is also about the new the new part of the virus. And I think there's some good news really coming out, both from the United States, and it started actually from South Africa when the virus was first detected. And I think it caused some of the frustration in Africa, that doctors always said it's really not that bad. It might be more contagious, but it's very light. And so far, I heard there really hasn't been anyone dying and hardly anyone hospitalized. So, Peter, what do you think? I mean, we closed the borders. Are we going to open the borders as quick as we close them?
It'd be nice. I think that, we don't close borders when people have colds. And we don't close borders when people have the flu. And we assume that people who have a cold or have flu are smart enough just to stay home and not to travel. And I think the same thing, appears, and if that appearance is correct, and that's always an if, but if that appearance is correct, that this is basically like having a cold and nothing more than that, then it seems pretty silly to be willing to destroy an entire industry, people's lives, people's economies, people's well-being, especially prior to the Christmas and New Year holidays in the Western world. And this is a time when people should be traveling, and a chance for the tourism industry to recover a little bit of the tremendous economic losses that it suffered. And again, if we discover that it's nothing more than a bad cold or the equivalent of a bad cold, so you know what? People get colds from other people also. We do have masks today. We hopefully most people are being vaccinated not only against COVID, but also against influenza. And that will permit, I think, travel. So I think this concept of constantly closing travel is really a negative. And at this point, the world really needs to come and learn to live with COVID. It's going to be here for a long time. We might as well get used to it. And let's figure out a way that we can coexist with it and not destroy ourselves. Because I think COVID is hurting us more. We are hurting ourselves more than COVID is hurting us. And that's not smart.
And Peter, and of course, this is an international issue. I mean, here in the United States, at least here in Hawaii, I don't see a lot of difference between before we had the new strain and after. So things pretty much are the same. But when it comes to international travel, specifically in the southern part of Africa, it's pretty much isolated because of it. And so is Japan. So it takes the international leadership to really wake up the world and say, okay, look, I mean, we did this. The UK closed the border, was the first country. So let's try to reverse it as quickly as we can. We did it the other way because we're all learning going through this virus.
And sometimes I think that politicians are afraid to admit that they made a mistake or they overreacted. And of course, the Africans are very upset because they feel that it was kind of discrimination against Africa. And I don't know if that's true or not true, but what I do know is that there's no reason at this point to isolate Africa or any of the other places. And if we see that it's nothing worse than a cold, we don't stop the world for a cold, and we shouldn't be stopping the world for this. Now, if it's worse and there are other effects that we don't know about, then obviously other precautions have to be taken. But so far, we don't know that.
No, absolutely. And it's altogether, it's a fragile world. I mean, we discussed earlier the situation in Ukraine and Russia, that hopefully is not going to escalate too much more. Of course, it would be tragically, the United States are really preparing a plan how to evacuate US citizens from Ukraine if something more severe would happen.
The last thing in the world that European tourism needs, and we're not going to get into the politics of it, but let's talk about the tourism politics of it. Could you imagine what would happen to a very fragile tourism industry, especially in Europe, if all of a sudden now there is a war taking place, the United States puts on huge sanctions. Of course, much of Europe, for good or for bad, is dependent on Russian oil and gas. The pipeline is cut off. Who's going to want to go to a place like Germany or Belgium or Holland to a hotel and freeze? And that would basically cause rationing through a good part of Europe. We're going to be back to the 1950s. So
not only that, if you look at the situation, it's not only the tension we're right now sensing in Russia and Ukraine, it's the tension also in Turkey and in other countries.
Exactly.
It's not a really.
And also Taiwan and China.
Taiwan and China.
And it could be, and the United States has not maintained the military forces that possibly should have. And could the United States be involved in two military conflagrations, one on the eastern side, meaning Eastern Europe, and one in Asia? And that would be, and of course, there's always the potential for Iran blowing up. So you have really, three major hotspots in the world. All three could occur at the same time. And I don't know if the West is prepared to deal with three major battles all going on at the same time.
Yeah, let's hope this won't happen. And I really don't think it will happen. But there is a lot of tension. And you can see the tension. I was surprised yesterday. I saw on social media posted, even on our own World Tourism Network social media, posted a video from India about the strength of the military. And today in the news, we're hearing about the new cooperation between Russia and India on the military side. So all of this is not going.
The Russian foreign minister is now coming on Sunday to Israel to discuss Russian-Israeli cooperation and how that could impact Turkey. And of course, the Israelis and the Indians have a new 10-year security pact. So all of a sudden, you're seeing something like in the Balkans in the 1920s, 1910s, I guess, prior to World War I, with the potential for all sorts of nation realliances could take place, and that could create really lots of chaos in the world. And tourism is chaos abhorrent. When people are afraid, they don't travel. And so they've been afraid because of COVID. And now if we add to it the equation of political instability, that's almost a death knell for the tourism industry. So it would be a really difficult situation, to say the least.
And of course, luckily, we're not there yet, not even close. So we shouldn't overreact. But
No,
these
we're
are
not going to overreact. But hopefully people are paying some sort of attention. The tourism industry, of course, doesn't have control the political world, and we understand that. But the tourism industry should be prepared to be thinking always best scenario and worst scenario. And how do you deal with a crisis if it comes along? You don't want to deal with the crisis after it happens. You want to, in good crisis management, be prepared. Should this happen, how will I react? What's my plan? You can always modify a crisis plan, but you don't want to create a crisis plan once a crisis has already occurred. You want to have something prior on which to work from.
Well, Peter, we're living in exciting times, and it never stops. So every day is another height of something.
Yes, yes, it's no doubt about it. But there are other parts of the world that really are starting to think through. We might want to mention that today is the 21st anniversary of the founding of the tourism police in the Dominican Republic. So felicidades, congratulations to Politur is the name of the tourism police in the Dominican Republic. And in Peru, also today marks the 21st day of the tourism police in Peru. And that's really ways of handling, not reacting, but proacting. Especially, I think the Dominican Republic should be receiving lots of kudos. It's created a really wonderful tourism police organization. I'm very lucky to have participated in its improvements and looking at Politur from many sides. The tourism police even inspired where there were problems on some of the highways, what they call seguridad vial, or highway security. They created new highways that allowed people to go from one point of the country to another without worry about lack of security. So kudos to the Dominican Republic, kudos to Peru. And another country that probably should get some special kudos is Colombia, which has really created a wonderful national tourism police department. And those people are now so well trained that even when someone loses a wallet, the police will go find the wallet, go find the person, and try to return the wallet to the person. They don't always succeed. I want to make that clear, but they have been more successful than not. And the fact is that in Colombia, the tourism police, more than anybody else, has really symbolized the motto of Colombia, which is the only risk is that you will want to stay. And so Colombia has taken a very difficult period during the FARC period and turned it from a period of internal terrorism to now a really dynamic country where people are shopping and visiting, and the tourism industry is as functional as any other place in the world, understanding COVID has put a damper on everybody. But again, those are three police departments that all deserve a shout out from us.
Well, Peter, on this note, I think we covered a lot today. Yeah. And let's change the world and make it a better one. And we talk to you tomorrow. And
okay.
We see how everything is going. And from my end, I can only say mahalo. That means thank you in Hawaiian, and I'm not Hawaiian, obviously, so I should maybe say Dankeschön. We have a lot more to talk about this week. I think there's these World Scholar conferences going up. They're having new election and so forth. So it's going to be a lot going on. But from this end, we will repeat this live stream a number of times. You can see us in the next few hours again, and tomorrow they're going to be another day. But you can always go back to our YouTube channel. Just click on the YouTube link right on top of eTurbo News, and you can actually listen to all our previous broadcasts. So from here, I can only say good night, good day, Peter, and we'll catch up tomorrow.